The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org. This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Susan Taylor, the Montine Freeman Director of the New Orleans Museum of Art. Welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to see you. Hi. You didn't have too far to go, did you?
No, just around the corner.
Just around the corner. Gwen Thompkins is back, host of the public radio music show, Music Inside Out. Heard online at musicinsideout.org. Hello, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. And he's always with us, and we're glad. Alan Smason, editor of the Crescent City Jewish News and VitaCriticism.com. Good to see you, sir. Monita Qualey, and she is with very involved with the Gulf States Quilting Association and former president, huh?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
welcome. Mm-hmm. And Poppy is off tonight. She'll be back soon. But first up, Gwen, French Quarter Fest, can't get enough.
Exactly. It's in full swing at this point. There are two different ways that you can actually navigate the schedule of French Quarter Fest. You can either get a gambit, which is what I do because I love the tactile experience, or you can do it with a French Quarter Fest app on your phone, and you have to go all the way down on the main page to the left and find schedule. And so everyone has a different festival experience, but this is how I'm navigating the festival this year. On Saturday, I'd like to listen to Yuba, who's going to be playing in the afternoon. Now, New Orleans music has always had this Latin tinge that Jelly Roll Morton talked about, and that comes from the Caribbean. And so many artists since Jelly Roll have talked about it. Earl Palmer, Herlin Riley, for instance, those drummers, fantastic drummers. And Yuba is one of several Cuban artists who've come to make their home in New Orleans. And her music is amazing. She comes from the old Buena Vista neighborhood that we know so much about because of the Buena Vista Social Club, of course, the Ry Cooder documentary. And she counts Miles Davis and Stevie Wonder as her influences. But she's got this amazing sound with rumba music, along with she also sings wonderful ballads, and she also sort of borrows from the Brazilian tradition of bossa nova and other types of music that just make her sort of mesmerizing to watch. And so Yusa is just a wonderful performer. Yuba, sorry. I'm also going to be looking at the original Hurricane Brass Band. Now, as you recall, the original Hurricane Brass Band actually started when the Fairview Baptist marching band, church marching band that was run by Danny Barker, actually split up. There came a point when Barker stepped away from the band, and the Hurricane came out of the Fairview, and it was Barker's advice reportedly that he said to the young people, okay, whatever you name your band, just make sure that when you go through the streets, that people hear you like they hear a hurricane. And that's how it started.
Love it.
And Leroy Jones was the leader of the Hurricane Band. And so sometimes they get back together again, they record, and they also play live events, and so they're going to be playing at the festival. I'm very excited to see them. Also Don Vappy, who is just, a wonder unto himself, actually. He is a weird and wonderful example of how a person goes from being a funk musician, who played, mostly string or instruments, bass, and then moved into the traditional jazz milieu. And so he fell in love with banjo many years ago, and he is a banjo player extraordinaire. He's got a steady following here in the United States, also in Europe. The people love him at the Lincoln Center as well. He's a great jazz student as well as a great jazz teacher and composer. And recently he was inducted into the American Banjo Hall of Fame. So Don Vappy is not to be missed, actually, on Saturday. And then following Don Vappy, there's going to be a wonderful performance by the Lost Bayou Ramblers, you know, the Cajun Act. And as you all know, the Lost Bayou Ramblers won a Grammy Award this year for their live performance with the Louisiana Philharmonic that was under the conducting of Carlos Miguel Prieto. And that's a performance. It was a live performance. It will never be repeated in the same way again, because that's the beauty of live performance. It's never to be repeated in the same way. And of course, Maestro Prieto is now gone. He's been, you know, he's off to other pastures, and so the personnel will be different. But that doesn't mean that the Lost Bayou Ramblers aren't fantastic and wonderful to see on their own. And that's what I'm looking forward to, because these are sort of the bad boys of Cajun music who essentially figured out ways to make Cajun music applicable to rock and roll, to classical music, to all different forms of musical culture. I think they're fantastic. And they sort of, you know, they sort of typify that wonderful Mahler expression that tradition is not the worship of ashes, but the celebration of fire.
Woo, woo.
You know, which is such a great line, right? I stole that from Aurora Nealand. And then on Sunday, you know, I just can't have a French Quarter Fest experience without seeing John Boutet. He's absolutely fantastic. He's a consummate performer. He's got a rare tenderness, as you know, in his performance when he sings, and he also has this really supreme sense of fun. His repertoire of songs is vast, and so it's going to be a treat to hear which songs speak to him on Sunday morning, because you definitely get a feeling there's an improvisational pull to, you know, to his performances. And he is the kind of performer that most people try to be. He is supremely and completely himself on stage. You know, there's no artifice whatsoever. And most people spend their whole lives trying to get that kind of authenticity, you know, and which is why, you know, John Boutet is not like anybody, you know, and that's why he's worth seeing. Seva Vinay and his Storyville string band will be playing also on Sunday. And Seva Vinay is this really interesting banjo player as well from California who came to the United States of New Orleans, I suppose. And he immediately began playing with tuba fats, actually, in the French Quarter. And he's a terrific student of early jazz, and he's also a terrific teacher and source for early jazz. And he's also an excellent poet. I don't know if you know that, but he's a wonderful poet. And so he and the Storyville String Band are going to be playing on Sunday afternoon. And there are only a couple of singers that I've ever seen in New Orleans who I've seen electrify an audience to get off of its feet and just, you know, stay off of its feet. Stay off of their seats. And one of those performers is Erica Falls. Her voice is without parallel. She has amazing range. And there's something that is so complete. I mean, she can do her own music. She can do Aretha Franklin's music. She can do so many different kinds of, you know, jazz, pop, soul, rhythm and blues, what have you. And, you know, she has a way with her voice of being able to sort of grab you and bring her into her moment. You know, which is just fantastic. She was a backup singer for many years with Alan Toussaint and Sting and John Fogerty and Joe Sample and all these people. And now she's doing her own thing, writing her own music. She's got a new album out called Emotions, and she's going to be there Sunday afternoon. And I think I'm going to end French Quarter Festival with the great Helen Gillet and her French music all-stars. It's just a wonderful way to end an afternoon, hearing French chansons. You know, many of the songs, associated with the sort of mid-20th century French stars like Barbara or French-speaking stars, or Jacques Brel and Georges Bresson and so many. And she also writes and performs her own music of French chanson. And it's just a really beautiful, sort of intimate and emotive way to end the festival for me. And you sort of end on a very wistful note of love and loss.
Thank you
and
so
love
much.
again.
Woo, woo, woo. Thank you very much, Gwen. And moving over to Susan, so much to say about New Orleans Museum of Art within the next few months.
Exactly. No, it's truly one of these remarkable moments where time, artists, and creativity come together. The exhibition that's on view right now, but I have to say it's so energizing to hear someone speak so passionately about music as we all speak passionately about art.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Wageshi Mutu Intertwined is an exhibition that's on view through July 14th. and the exhibition is just a remarkable array of her work from the 90s through the present. She is a incredibly gifted artist whose work has achieved global recognition. There are paintings, sculptures, works on paper, collages, and very beautiful films that we have been able to present on widescreen throughout the museum and in the sculpture garden. So those are things that are unique to NOMA. The show originated at the New Museum in New York, and we were able to reconstitute it and expand it here in New Orleans. So the exhibition extends into the sculpture garden and into the sculpture pavilion. One of the justifications, if we needed one, was the fact that we own two works by Wageshi that were purchased by Sidney and Walda Besthoff for the sculpture garden. One is a caryatid, a seated figure that was on the facade of the Metropolitan Museum in New York several years ago as part of their facade series, and the other is Crocodilus, which was purchased.
We just showed.
Which
yes.
was purchased
so amazing.
last. So. There we are. We have just a wonderful show and lots of programs and activities.
And
including
speaking of Family Day.
Family Day, that's coming up. It is, as always, one of those days that brings together children, family, parents, art, creativity, the making, looking, and enjoying art that has become so much a part of our program. And that is really something that we will we continue to celebrate and will continue to sponsor and focus on.
And looking ahead in the next few months.
We are celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Sidney and Walda Besthoff Sculpture Garden, 20 years of a garden that has animated the cultural life of the city in really important ways. It includes 3 new works that will be installed this spring, 2 commissions, and 1 work that brings us to 100 works.
That's incredible, and I look forward to actually visiting with you more about that. But we also, in August, have something else called Sand, Ash, and Heat.
Well, that is an exhibition that chronicles the history of glass. We needed a great title. Sand, Ash, and Heat, I think, speaks to
It does.
process. And most people don't know that we have one of the best collections of glass in the country. And it is a collection that's built on works that range from Egyptian to contemporary, including commissions. So all of that work comes together under the rubric of food, science, all different ways of looking at glass in new and fresh perspectives.
So Susan, you got to come back again soon.
I'll be back.
Because there's too much going on.
I'll be back.
But for
Happy.
more information, noma.org. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
And Donita, I love the fact that we're talking about this quilt show that you all have coming up, your group, but we're also, what a background for us that we'll see shortly, because this is a quilt that you actually designed that's going to be raffled off at the quilt show with group members working on the quilt itself. So gorgeous, and that's called the Opportunity Quilt?
Yes, yes. People buy raffle tickets for it, and it will be raffled on Saturday afternoon at the quilt show.
Well, we're also going to be showing some quilts that you, as a member and former president, made yourself, and they're so gorgeous. Usually, what size of quilts do you like to make? Are they more of a tapestries or?
I usually like to make quilts that can be used, like a bedside quilt. This one, the Opportunity Quilt, is a queen-size quilt.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But we're going to show some of these other quilts that you've made over the years, and I like the fact that you've named them Day at the Beach here. And then we've got July 4th. Let's take a look at that one as well. Vibrant colors. Vibrant colors.
That one actually won a Best Use of Color at the quilt show.
Speaking of,
Fabulous.
and then we've got Tropical Sunrise. That's got color.
Yeah, that one does.
Lots of colors there. And then back to a wider shot of the Opportunity Quilt.
Yeah.
That's magnificent. How were you inspired for that, to design that?
Well, we are the Gulf States Quilting Association, so we have quilters in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Panhandle of Florida. And so when we looked at making a quilt for this year's show, we wanted to look at Gulf states and see what represented the Gulf
Palm
states.
trees,
And we have different aspects of sea life, of the sun and the sand. And then in the at the top, you'll see there's a strip of blocks that are the Louisiana blocks, the Alabama blocks, the Florida block, and also the Mississippi block. So there's a lot of things represented in that quilt. And it also has various techniques, whether you machine piece a block or you applique a block. So we try to appeal to a number of different quilting techniques based on our membership. And we put that together for that.
Now, so Friday and Saturday, what can we expect? You have vendors there and and over what, 300 quilts, or?
Yes, we have, as of our last count, 357 quilts that will be displayed. And this is a juried show, meaning that we will have awards and we will have prizes for the quilts that the judges select as the award-winning quilts.
And the funds that are raised for this go to various charitable causes that you all support?
We do have a charity, actually several charities that we support that are Women's Shelter. We give quilts to first responders to give to children and people that, are victims of fire when they go to a fire to wrap them in.
That's wonderful.
So we have a number of different charities that we support.
So for more information, gulfstatesquilting.org for all the info about these magnificent quilts. I'm so glad you could be with us.
Thank you, Peggy.
Yeah. Alan.
Well, one of the funniest British farces is Michael Frayn's Noises Off. It's been presented here on several occasions. It requires really critical timing for the comedy elements to come together. The perspective examines theater in many ways and relationships of the characters on stage. It's always examining theater, though, in very, very different ways. Eric Porter designed the set, and Olivia Winter designed the props for this comic look at theater. It'll be starring Leon Canavespri, Jonathan Marares, Bailey Gabrish, Mary Lee Jacobs, David Jacobs, Benjamin Clement, Nancy White, newcomers Elizabeth McCoy, and Miles Hamawi. Noises Off will start Friday night, and it'll play all the way till the 21st on Sunday at the Jefferson Performing Arts Center. And again, next week, we're going to be considering the upcoming New Orleans Shakespeare Festival on the Tulane campus. But first, this week, we're going to talk about the other season that's going to be presented this summer. That's for, of course, Summer Lyric Theater at Tulane. For those who have yet to see the Sutton Foster or Aaron Tveit, Stephen Sondheim, Sweeney Todd that's on Broadway, if you haven't already made plans, perhaps you'll consider waiting for a few months to check out the Summer Lyric version. The Demon Barber of Fleet Street will be in Dixon Hall in June, beginning on June the 20th. And then 1 week after Independence Day, Cole Porter's Anything Goes with its signature songs, I Get a Kick Out of You, You're the Top, Blow, Gabriel Blow, and Friendship will be at Dixon Hall until July the 12th. The final entry for Summer Lyrics Summer Stock season is the Stephen Schwartz's masterpiece. This is Pippin, of course, based loosely on the life of the son of Charlemagne. The original musical featured memorable choreography from its director, Bob Fosse. He won 2 Tony Awards, not only as the director, but also as the choreographer, and won another for Ben Vereen as the leading player. Now, Pippin was also revived on Broadway a decade ago, and it won a Tony Award for Patina Miller, also as the leading player. It's making it really the only show in Broadway history that won a Best Actor and a Best Actress for the same role on Broadway. Again, it also won for Best Revival. It's a great show. So if you don't have magic to do, Summer Lyric says, come and share their simple joys and revel in their glory and extraordinary production. Soon they promise you'll be on the right track, and it'll be in just no time at all. Okay, season tickets now on sale for Summer Lyric. A few weeks ago, by the way, I had a pleasure of finding out about the Salem Film Festival that had the world premiere screening of the Nita and Zita project, and that was in Salem, Massachusetts. You can see a picture of them seeing the screening there, and there's one of the members of the sisters, Nita and Zita. It's a strange set of sisters. They called New Orleans home, and they designed their own costumes, a very unique dance and acrobatic performance that they had. It's recounted in this new film by Marcy Darling. She wrote and directed this original film. And serving as Marcy's producer is Dr. Sharon Gillen, who's a longtime friend of Marcy's when she lived in New Orleans. And really, they both felt compelled to tell the story of these 2 interesting sisters. Marcy and Sharon will be holding the New Orleans premiere at the New Orleans Museum of Art, yes, Yes, we heard about the New Orleans Museum of Art earlier. That'll be on Wednesday, April the 24th at 5 o'clock in the evening. Seats are free, but they will be available on a first-come, first-served basis. And then after the film, the director and producer will be sitting down. They'll be joined by none other than burlesque star Trixie Mix.
Woohoo.
Now, she is like Nita and Zita in this way. She had ancestors who hailed from the same area in Europe, and of course has a lot of commonality in terms of the burlesque and in terms of the performance, etc. We're looking forward to seeing that. That's Nita and Zita's project. Check it out. The New Orleans premiere, April the 24th. Stay tuned for the talk back with Marcy, Sharon, and Trixie. For those of you who want to learn more about Nita and Zita, by the way, and their history here in New Orleans, as well as their success on the local stage, I invite you to check out my recent NOLA Theater talk show from this past Monday night. Go to either the Facebook NOLA Theater folk Facebook group, the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, or my own YouTube channel to hear from Marcy and Sharon, as well as to see some rare photos of their home and their furnishings, which they decorated themselves.
All right, Al.
And real quick, a week from tonight, the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra will be presenting a relatively new classical work by Michael Thomas Fume. It's titled Full Metal. This is an homage to Japanese anime, or animation, if you will. Lydia Yankovskaya will also conduct Verdi's La Forza del Destino, the overture, and preside over Richard Strauss's full version of Also sprach Zarathustra. That's the beginning of which many of us know as the theme from 2001: A Space Odyssey, or perhaps as the introduction to Elvis Presley and his band. Of course, it's a much longer work than that. Check it all out, again, at the LPO at the Orpheum Theater.
Thank you very much, Alan. And before we go to picks, on Monday evening, WYES will present a brand new documentary by Karen Swensen called A Place of Hope, the National Shrine of Our Lady of Prompt Succor. Here's Karen to give us a preview. Karen, I know you are aware of the Ursuline history, but were there any surprises along the way while doing this documentary?
Oh, there were so many surprises. Most especially, I didn't realize that the Ursuline nuns are leaving us at such a rapid pace, right? There are only 2 left. So as much as this documentary is about the impact of the shrine and the shrine's legacy, it's also a tribute to the Ursuline nuns who have called it home for the past 300 years.
Now, you talk about miracles, and from your long career, your vantage point is being an observer, a reporter. How did these miracles come into play in terms of your own viewpoint?
Wow, that's a tough question, because as a journalist and a mainstream journalist, I sort of leave it to the viewer to determine what they want to believe or not believe. However, there's a line in there where I say, belief is a choice, but one thing is fact: believers come here. And I do share the faith, so to me, it made me really lean in when I heard these people from different families talking about different events over different periods of time, dating back more than 100 years, talking about these inexplicable twists of fate, after each of them had prayed for intercession from Our Lady of Prompt Succor.
Of course, our viewers are of all faiths. Should it just be Catholics watching this, or is this a general audience?
It's a general audience, because that is a place where people of all backgrounds have found peace. And Our Lady of Prompt Succor is the patron saint of all New Orleanians and the entire state of Louisiana, and all are welcome there. And that's the most important message, I think, especially that the nuns want to convey, that this is a home for everyone. So this is also a tribute to their legacy.
And what message are you hoping you'll be imparting in this program?
I hope it's a message of hope, and that peace is attainable. If you can find a place where you feel that you can sort of surrender your problems, ask for help, and then just wait in quiet reflection.
New Orleans, Louisiana is a city known for its beauty, culture, soul, and a history of surviving the unsurvivable. Great fires, wars, epidemics, pandemics, and storms of biblical proportion. But what if her resilience is nothing short of divine, and stronger together includes the intercession of Mary.
At the hospital, we were praying to Our Lady to give us our son back.
The mother of Jesus,
All the doctors repeatedly asked, "How are you alive?"
who many believe
When she was re-examined, they declared it a miracle.
has sped to the city's aid time and time again. This is her home and its remarkable story, a place of hope, the National Shrine of Our Lady of Prompt Succor.
And A Place of Hope will actually debut on Monday, this Monday at 9 p.m. It will also be streamed live on our WYES YouTube channel, also on WYES and PBS apps too. Now time for our picks, Miss Gwen.
I think I'm going to go with the singer-songwriter Dana Kurtz and Robert Moshe at Buffa's on Saturday night. She's a wonderful singer. She's divides her time between Vermont and New Orleans. Incredible pathos in her songs, and I don't think that anybody would ever regret going to see them. They're a terrific duo.
Well, it's not Big Frida, but last week it was announced that the Preservation Hall Jazz Band will join forces with the LPO for Rooted in Rhythm. That's a gala fundraiser, an opportunity for them to play traditional jazz with a classical orchestra. And Sean Chen will be on hand to play two jazz pieces, if you will, classical jazz of Gershwin's, including the Concerto in F. So there's the rumba and also the Concerto in F.
And thank you. The Friends of the Library, the Jefferson Parish Library System, will hold their big book sale this weekend at the Pontchartrain Center. Friends of Jefferson Library.org for details. And the Historic New Orleans Collection at 520 Royal is having a free concert featuring their rare Aeolian organ at 11 a.m. on Saturday and an afternoon of family activities, including beginning chess. hnoc.org. Click on Events, a very important exhibit showcasing the over 5-decade careers of architect Frank Gehry and Robert Tannen at the Orr O'Keeffe Museum in Biloxi. It opens Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Sunday, the St. Louis Cathedral Choir will perform their spring concert featuring the Lord Nelson Mass by Haydn at 3 p.m. under the direction of Sarah J. McMahon. Celebrating the 40th anniversary of Chef Paul Prudhomme's Louisiana Kitchen Cookbook. On Wednesday, you can go to chefpaul.com and purchase this quintessential cookbook and receive the sequel, Louisiana Taste, all for $19.84. And the daughter of the British Empire, the daughters that is, will hold a tea at Longview Gardens on April the 20th from 2 to 4 p.m. It's a fundraiser for their many charities and good causes. Reservations are highly suggested. BCALZ, BCALZ75 @gmail.com for more information. Thank you all so very much, and thank you for watching. Good night.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org. This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area.